from explosions inside the ballpark to fans vomiting on one another. Here's a look at the craziest moments in MLB history. Swarming in at our 15th craziest moment are the midges. No, we're not talking about Mo Slyzak mispronouncing Marge's name on The Simpsons. Rather, a group of tiny fly species that took over and arguably changed the outcome of the 2007 ALDS. With the Yankees up a run in the 8th inning, the normally unflappable Jabba Chamberlain becomes visually frustrated as he is swarmed by these pestering bugs.
Really beginning to wonder if these bugs are having an effect on Chamberlain.
I mean, look at those things on Jabba's neck. One might say they're looking for a home or to make Jabba their hut. Terrible puns aside, these little buggers clearly rattled Chamberlain.
See Derek Jeter waving that cap around.
Look at Jeter, swatting them away like they're 20-somethings leaving his house the morning after. Chamberlain ended up blowing the save opportunity, and Cleveland won the game in extra innings. You know what's a good way to get rid of midges and other tiny flies and insects? Birds. The big man was the hardest thrower in the league, and even his changeup would have killed this bird. Trickery is an important part of baseball. Most notably, pitchers utilize different grips and tricks to disguise their pitches. It's one thing to disguise a pitch, but another to don a disguise after being kicked out of a game. And that's exactly what Bobby Valentine did.
In the third slot, John Olerud having been replaced as part of a double switch. Bobby Valentine to dugout.
Look at Valentine creeping in the background with what looks to be like a dollar store disguise, complete with glasses and a fake mustache. Dude literally disguised himself so that he could keep working. Now that's commitment. Speaking of disguises, it's kind of hard to blend into the background when you're carrying around these melons. The lady in question is known as Morgana, the kissing bandit. She was famous in the 1980s for running onto the field and stealing a kiss. How insane is it to see Cal Ripken Jr. just acknowledge that this was happening and lean in for a kiss mid-game? Ripken Jr. didn't miss a game for another 10 years after this kiss, earning himself the unbreakable record of 2,632 consecutive games played. I feel like the kiss had something to do with it. Moving on, let's go back more than 70 years to an iconic moment involving the now defunct St. Louis Browns. Team owner Bill Veeck was known for the over-the-top celebrations and in-game festivities. Between games in a doubleheader, he had 3'7" Eddie Goodell pop out of a massive birthday cake to get the crowd going. That would have been a fun and otherwise unmemorable moment, but what would happen next makes this game stand out in MLB lore. Goodell actually pinch hit for Browns player Frank Sauce. We've seen some small strike zones for modern players like Alejandro Kirk. But imagine what kind of zone Goodell at 3'7" had. Needless to say, he walked on 4 pitches and was immediately replaced by a pinch runner. There's many jokes one could make about this scene, but my favorite is a direct quote from Veeck's autobiography. Goodell was, by golly, the best darn midget who ever played big league ball. He was also the only one. Well said. Okay, look, perhaps I shouldn't have used the M word, but it was a direct quote, and it was a different time in the 50s. And we couldn't make a video of the craziest moments without including Tom Brennaman, whose own language got him fired mid-broadcast in 2020. After noticing he was caught on a hot mic saying a slur for gay people, Brennaman attempts a heartfelt apology and still has the presence of mind, or ineptitude, to keep calling the game.
I made a comment earlier tonight that I guess went out over the air that I am deeply ashamed of. A man of faith, as there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run. And so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game.
Roger Clemens is one of the greatest pitchers of all time, although he left behind a legacy of misremembering, which of course is the infamous word he used while testifying in court about his alleged PED use. Clemens also clearly misremembered what happened when he threw a broken bat at Mike Piazza.
The barrel of the bat comes back at Roger Clemens, and he fires the bat back toward Piazza, who is going down the first baseline.
Clemens' excuse for throwing the bat is that he thought it was a ball. Geez, roid rage is a hell of a thing, man. Moving on, Mariners mascot Mariner the Moose tries to run down Coco Crisp in an ATV. I gotta be honest, it's refreshing to see a moose hit a human while driving. That one was for the moose everywhere. Disco sucks! Disco sucks! That's something we can all agree on, but not necessarily a chant you'd expect to hear at a baseball game. Coming from someone who has tried to start some crazy chants at sporting events, it's not easy to get the crowd into it. But clearly everyone can unite around the fact that disco sucks, especially at this Tigers and White Sox game in 1979. White Sox officials, with low attendance, hope to draw anti-disco fans to the stadium to watch not a baseball game, but an entire crate of disco records blowing up on the field. Yeah, they blew up the records, but that wasn't enough as thousands of fans rushed the field in celebration.
He just said, hey, let's do it.
Back at the ballpark, and I'm sure glad, and I hope they don't let you people see what's going on here at Comiskey Park.
Thankfully, nobody got hurt or killed on the field. You can even say that they were all staying alive. From staying alive to struggling to stay awake. Our next craziest moment takes place during the 18th inning of a 1985 game. Thankfully, extra innings now begin with a runner on second base, but that wasn't the case back then.
Runge take a shot at winning it, and he gets the ball well. Now 2 outs and 0 on. The Mets are waving their outfielders in. It'll be an 0-2 pitch. He goes back. It is gone. Holy cow! Oh my goodness! I don't believe it.
It was after 3:20 a.m. and the pitcher Rick Camp was likely the final out of the game. He may have had a .060 lifetime batting average, but that didn't stop him from hitting an absolute rocket over the right field wall to tie the game.
Remember what I just said, if he hits a home run, that certifies this game as the luckiest, wildest, most incredible game in history.
Look at the Mets outfielder throwing his hands up in disbelief. What a moment. 10-cent beer night. A good, no, great idea in theory, but perhaps not so much in practice.
There's a chant in the ballpark, "We want cups."
The Indians held the promotion back in the 1970s, and in an attempt to get fans to the stadium, let's just say it worked a little too well. The big issue here was the tension between the two teams on the field.
He's got some kid on the ground, and he is really administering a beating. This is really about to hit him from behind. This has been a night of blatant stupidity.
Which accumulated in a brawl after Lenny Randle laid a massive body check on pitcher Milt Wilcock. I mean, I haven't seen hits in hockey, football, or rugby this big. Following the brawl, fans began hurling food and beer cans at players on the field.
I must have had probably 15 or 20 pounds of hot dogs thrown at me at first base.
To put it in perspective, a 10-cent beer with inflation would be about 63 cents today. You better believe if a team held this promotion today, I'm going to the stadium with a $20 bill and having a night. But throwing a full can of beer at a player while he's trying to make the out? Come on, man.
The 3-2. In the air to left. Then goes back and has room. And somebody threw something out of the stands.
Security and police originally couldn't identify who threw the can, but a quick scan in the clip, you can tell immediately from the dude's face that he knew he messed up. Blue Jays fan Ken Pagan eventually turned himself in.
I know I did throw the beer can on the field.
Interestingly, he had been working as a sports journalist for a community paper outside of Toronto. It was probably evident from the lack of accuracy on his throw that he wasn't an athlete.
Never let him in the ballpark again.
Now, throwing something onto the field wasn't extravagant enough for this fan, who during the 1986 World Series did this.
And that's one of the many reasons an unexpected guest at Shay Stadium.
Honestly, I kind of respect the move and am left wondering why more people don't parachute into places today. Can you imagine parachuting into a business lunch? Talk about power move. The clip is made even better because of legendary announcer Vin Scully, who delivers one of his all-time greatest lines.
That's about the only way to beat the traffic in this town.
Wait, I recognize those glasses from anywhere. Is that Rick Moranis? While that fan likely earned a trip to the Slammer, pitcher Doc Ellis had a trip of his own. Ellis, unaware that he was supposed to be pitching that evening, took LSD early in the day, as one does. Rather than owning up to his mistake, he went on the mound and delivered the pitching performance of his lifetime. Ellis threw a no-hitter, complete with 8 walks, and went on to say this.
I didn't see the hitters. All I could tell was if they was on the right side or the left side.
Finally, we get to a moment that simply can't be topped in terms of crazy, psychotic behavior. Although, if I'm being honest, I can see the logic here. In 2010, a Phillies fan, it's always a Phillies fan, got into an argument with a dad and his 11-year-old daughter in the stands when this happened.
Authorities say Clemens stuck his fingers down his throat and threw up on the off-duty police captain and one of his daughters after Clemens' companion was ejected from the park.
Now, you can strike another man, but clearly you shouldn't hit a child. So how else can you make your point and prove yourself to be the superior man? That's right, you force yourself to vomit on both of them.
After purposely vomiting on an 11-year-old girl and her father at a Phillies game in April.
Now, it might sound crazy, and it definitely is, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. This dude totally has the face of a dude who looks like he would puke on someone too. Of course, complete with the requisite black eye that you expect him to have after doing something so disgusting. And if you like these moments, make sure to check out this video right here. These are some of the craziest moments in MLB history.